Politeness and diplomacy are responsible for more suffering and death than all the crimes of passion in history. Fuck politeness. Fuck diplomacy. Tell your truth. Be authentic. Imagine a child, 5 years old. They get angry because their toy was taken. They cry, they shout, they stomp. Of course, that's normal. That's supposed to be healthy. But it's not healthy as the parent doesn't see it that way. Stop it right now. Keep quiet now. Don't be so difficult. Good kids don't act like that. The words of the parents that comes out whenever the child is opposing to what he doesn't want, whether in anger, disagreement, or sadness, each time it repeats, the brain remembers anger equals danger. The child feels a sting of shame. Anger was punished, not understood. The feeling of the moment dominates the memory. And when the cycle repeats, the child grows up being the obedient child, the child who rarely ever says no, and the child who always avoids conflict at any given situation. Next time the child feels anger, they hesitate, they remember, showing it leads to pain. So what's left? Smile. Be agreeable. Be easy. Be passive. That keeps me safe. This is the foundation of the people pleaser, which starts in the soil of fear. Instead of the child learning, my feelings are valid, but I must express them respectfully, the child's memory learns, my feelings are unacceptable. I must erase them to be loved. The irony? That erasure isn't love, it's a form of conditioning. From young, your brain starts to form patterns of this conditioning based on survival matters more than truth. So you shrink yourself thinking, if I'm good enough, quiet enough, helpful enough, they'll keep me. Over years, that act becomes an identity. You no longer pretend to be the easy one, you are the easy one. You no longer act agreeable. You believe you are agreeable. And that version of you that no one else sees, your authentic self, locked away, masked every single moment you interact with the world, and every time you feel a flicker of anger, disappointment, or disagreement arising with interaction with the world as an adult, that same childhood fear rises. If I let this out, I'll be punished. I'll lose love, I'll be abandoned, so you push it down. Smile, never say no, burning out your own self for others, and in doing so, you betray yourself. The good child trap. Good children, the quiet ones, the agreeable ones, the helpers, are praised endlessly. Teachers adore them, parents brag about them, neighbors say, he's such a good young man, she's such an angel, never causing any trouble. But underneath the mask, there lies waiting these children starving for the freedom to feel, to rage, to say no without fear. Instead, they learn to prioritize others' comfort above their own truth. And here's the cruel irony. The more good they are, the less seen they become. Everyone sees the mask. Few ever see the soul behind it. When love feels conditional, children begin to treat relationships like a marketplace. Be more agreeable, get more affection, offer more help, earn more safety, silence your needs, secure more belonging. The tragedy? The child never feels secure and satisfied with themselves, because conditional love is never enough. There is always the fear that one mistake, one moment of honesty, will make it disappear. It's like living in a house where the electricity could cut out at any moment. The lights are on, but the fear of darkness keeps you tense, cautious, scanning the switch. Adult years. Fast forward 20 years. The child is now an adult. They've built a life on this bargain. At work, they take on extra projects to earn praise. In friendships, they swallow resentment to avoid rejection. In love, they overgive to keep their partner close. Each act is a silent prayer. If I keep you happy, maybe you'll stay. Maybe I'll be safe, but deep down, the same ache lingers. Do they love me, or for what I do for them? How I make them feel, especially when it goes against my own will. Do you remember moments when affection was tied to achievement? Were you praised for being easy, good, or helpful, but scolded for being sad, angry, or resistant? Do you notice, even now, a flicker of fear when you disappoint someone? If so, you felt the weight of conditional love. It's not your fault. It's not a weakness. It's a survival strategy your child self learned to stay safe. But here's the truth no one will ever tell you. Situations or people that causes you to erase your authentic self isn't love, it's control. And recognizing that is the first step toward reclaiming your authentic self and showing that version of you to the world. The addiction. Here's the dark truth about people-pleasing. It doesn't just happen. Remember that praise you got for being the well-behaved and easy one? That's when the brain first learned the connection. It wasn't just praise, it was a dopamine hit. Every time you please someone, you feel a tiny rush of relief. You avoided conflict, you gained approval, and in that moment, you survived. That little hit of relief isn't random, it's chemical. Your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical that lights up when you eat sugar, when you scroll on your phone, when you win at gambling, even when you take certain drugs. Your brain loves repeatable patterns to happen on autopilot. Over time, your nervous system wires itself to crave that validation, allowing you to mask the people-pleasing personality. You start chasing it without even realizing it. It feels good until it doesn't, because like any high, it doesn't last. So the cycle begins. You anticipate what others need. You overgive. You get that little approval hit. Then comes the crash, exhaustion, resentment, shame. And to escape that shame, you do it all again. Time and time again. Over and over. The loop never ends. This is the same neurological pattern as addiction. The brain builds tolerance, meaning the same amount of pleasing no longer feels enough. So, you do more, you give more, you bend yourself further, hoping the next approval hit will finally last. It doesn't. The good feeling slips away, and you're back to square one. Why is it so hard to stop? Because people-pleasing doesn't just feel rewarding, it feels like safety. If I keep them happy, they won't leave. If I don't rock the boat, I'll be safe. If I make everyone comfortable, maybe I'll finally feel secure. That's the illusion. That's the false promise. But here's the cruel twist. Safety never actually arrives, because approval is fleeting. It's temporary. It disappears as quickly as it comes. And the moment you stop performing, the fear comes rushing back. That fear isn't just in your head. It's in your body. Think about the last time you were about to disappoint someone. Maybe you said no to a request. Maybe you stood your ground in an argument. What did your body do? For most people pleasers, the answer is simple. Sweaty palms, stomach in knots, heart pounding, your throat closing up. That's not weakness. It's your nervous system treating conflict like danger, like you're about to be attacked, abandoned, or punished. That's anxiety hijacking your body. And what's the quickest way to shut it down? Pleasing, agreeing, giving in. Pleasing becomes your escape, just like an addict reaching for a drink, a pill, or a hit. It soothes the anxiety in the moment, but it keeps the addiction alive. The truth is, people-pleasing isn't a quirk. It isn't just being nice. It's a survival strategy that's been hijacked by the brain's reward system. Think about it. The child learns, if I'm good, I get love. The teen learns, if I agree, I avoid rejection. The adult learns, if I give enough, I'll finally be safe. But underneath, the same fear is always running the show. The fear of abandonment, the fear of rejection, the fear of being seen as too much, or worse, not enough. And every time you soothe that fear with pleasing, you reinforce the cycle. You don't break free, you sink deeper in. Here's a way to picture it. Imagine a slot machine. You pull the lever. Sometimes you win, most times you don't. but the possibility of winning keeps you hooked. That's people-pleasing. Sometimes your efforts work. They keep the peace. They win you approval. But other times, you feel ignored, dismissed, even used. Still, you go back. Still, you pull the lever, because maybe this time you'll finally hit the jackpot. But the jackpot never comes. Now imagine living like that for years. You're constantly scanning, reading the room, guessing what people need before they even say it. That's not kindness. That's a form of anxiety, and eventually you'd say, it's exhausting. Your whole nervous system becomes a little radar system, constantly searching, is she mad at me? Did I say the wrong thing? Do they still like me? And here's the devastating part. The more you scan, the more you see danger everywhere, even when there isn't any. So you overgive, you over-apologize, you over-explain, not because you want to, but because your body has been trained to believe it's the only way to stay safe. This is why people-pleasing is so destructive. It doesn't just drain your energy, it rewires your identity. Here's the bottom line. People-pleasing isn't just about manners. It isn't about kindness. It isn't even about being nice. It's about survival. It's about an ancient part of the brain that learned long ago that pleasing was the only way to stay safe. But what kept you safe as a child is now the very thing keeping you stuck as an adult. It drains your energy. It buries your authenticity. It traps you in a cycle of anxiety and addiction, and the more you give, the emptier you feel. This is why people-pleasing isn't just a habit, it's an addiction, one that eats away at your confidence, one that robs you of your voice, one that steals your life piece by piece, and unless you break the cycle, you'll keep living on that endless loop. Anticipate, overgive, approval, crash, shame, repeat, over and over, until you're left wondering who you really are beneath the mask. Here's the hidden cost of people-pleasing. Loss of authenticity. The first cost is authenticity. Your real self, your thoughts, your feelings, your needs, gets buried under layers of compliance, like paint over a masterpiece. At first, you know you're pretending. You think, I'll just go along this time, it's not a big deal. But slowly, the pretending becomes the identity. You say yes so often, you forget what no feels like. You smile so automatically, you forget what your real face looks like. You agree so quickly, you forget what you actually think. Exploitation and burnout. But the world doesn't forget. The world notices. People-pleasers become magnets for manipulators, because predators can smell compliance. Think about it. Who's easiest to exploit? The person who says no and defends their boundaries, or the person who always gives in? Bosses notice. They give you more work because you'll never complain. Friends notice. They lean on you constantly because you'll always say yes. Partners notice. They take and take because they know you'll never walk away. And at first you tell yourself it's fine. This is who I am. I like helping. I'm just generous, but deep down you feel it. The resentment building, the exhaustion mounting, the slow erosion of your joy. Until one day you wake up and realize you're running on empty. Burnout. And burnout doesn't just mean tired. It means chronic fatigue. It means your immune system breaking down. It means constant headaches, stomach issues, even depression. Broken relationships. Here's another cost nobody talks about. People think being a pleaser makes relationships easier, that avoiding conflict means keeping the peace. But that's a lie, because no conflict also means no repair, and no honesty also means no intimacy. Without arguments, without hard truths, without real boundaries, there is no depth, there is no trust. Your partner doesn't actually know you. Your friends don't actually know you, because how could they? You've never shown them your real self, so you end up surrounded by relationships that look stable on the outside, but feel hollow on the inside. And what's worse, sometimes you lose relationships because of pleasing. Think about it. If the only reason someone stays is because you keep them happy, then the moment you slip, the moment you say no, the moment you show your truth, they're gone, which means your greatest fear comes true. The very strategy you used to avoid abandonment causes it. And then comes the final cost, the identity crisis. Because after years, sometimes decades, of bending yourself into the shape others needed, you wake up one day and realize, I don't even know who I am. You know who you are for others, the dependable one, the kind one, the helpful one. But who are you apart from who you are for others? That's the haunting question. Maybe you don't know what you like anymore. Maybe you don't know what you believe anymore. Maybe you don't even know what you want for your own future. It feels like standing in front of a mirror, but the reflection is blurry. You can see an outline, but the details are missing. And that emptiness, that hollow ache, it's the deepest cost of all.